Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Line Change, the NHL betting podcast from the Action Network. My name is Michael Leboff. Joining me to preview opening night, Tuesday, October 10th. 3 games on the docket are my friends, co-hosts Nick Martin and Tim Kalinowski. And gentlemen, the NHL is back, and look what they did. Connor Bedard is playing on opening night. There's no NFL going up against the hockey. This is they did it right. But before we get to Bedard, we've got a 5:30 p.m. puck drop in Tampa Bay, which is crazy. So it's Predators and Lightning, Hawks, Penguins, and then Kraken and Knights in a banner raising. But we always like to start this show with a bang, our favorite underdog for every given night that we cover. And Nick, for Tuesday night, who's your favorite pooch?
I'm going to say I'm split, but I'll let Tim have the other one because I know he likes it. So let's have him break that down. And I think that the tie in Chicago and Pittsburgh is a really fun opening night bet. It's at plus 370. It's always live in these kind of opening night, could be back and forth. Don't know what you're going to see. I think that the chances Chicago blows them out are basically non-existent. I really feel like the Pens are going to come out and at least play reasonable here. So I like that kind of eliminates that. But with that said, I think this is priced slightly, like the Pens are a slightly bigger favorite than I would have made them in this opening night spot. So I think there's a good chance that this game just kind of becomes competitive. Maybe the Hawks get up early, something like that. That would be perfect for our draw bet here. So I just see regulation tie as slightly more likely, just simply a numbers play here, and definitely a fun way to get some action on opening night. So that's my favorite underdog from this slate.
Yeah, the will the game go to overtime? It's sometimes listed at sportsbooks depending on where you are. Or the three-way money line draw, always fun. Yeah, always never not a painful bet at all. For me, I'll go with the Nashville Predators at plus 142, taking on the Lightning. This comes down to one player and one player only, and that player is Jonas Johansson in goal for the Lightning. Not good. He played pretty well, I will say, in a 3-game sample for the Avalanche last year. But before that, he was a goalie that folks just love to bet against. And the great thing about him was he was playing on good teams. He was playing for the Avalanche and the Panthers, and so you'd get good prices to go against him. Like a minus 24-ish goals saved above expected in his 35 games, and the Lightning will be taking on one of the best goalies in the world, and Saros for the Predators. So I like Nashville. Tim, what about you?
I concur, Leboff. I'm on here to say the same exact thing for the same exact reason. I remember the days when we used to cross our fingers and pray that Curtis McElhinney would be starting for the Tampa Bay Lightning and hopefully get a discount. I feel like this is kind of the same idea. My biggest fear, though, however, is I did this last year. I'm worried that possibly the Lightning get off to a really good start like the Bruins did last year when I was worried and when I was fading the Bruins with their injuries, but they start off with a bang, and hopefully the Lightning don't start off with a bang, at least for opening night. So yeah, I'm on the Preds as well.
Yeah, Saros versus Johansson. It feels like an auto bet. Nick, so that's it for the underdogs. We'll just jump into Preds and Bolts. You know where Tim and I are. Are you on the same side?
Yeah, I think I have a small position on the Preds here. I like them. I have just a little less conviction because of the fact that Johansson, like you said, he was decent with Colorado last year, and he had a really good preseason. He had a 958 save percentage. So that's not the most important thing in the world, but it's definitely worth watching. It takes away from probably it just has me seeing a little less value here, but and opening night too. Like it seems like these games are so volatile. The first couple, like if I look back on some like the articles written and that sort of thing on opening night, it feels like there's so many where the game happens and you look at the way even like the next month and the rest of the season goes, and it's just completely thrown out the window. Like I think there was the Caps one where it was 5-0. I remember, I think it was last season versus the Rangers, and you never would have guessed the seasons went how they did after that. And there's so many like that. Pittsburgh, I think, was it Pittsburgh and Tampa
And
last year?
the
Same
Lightning,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Like it just feels like one where in this
And the
spot
Penguins were so banged up in that game, or something. There was something going
yeah,
on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I remember I bet it early when that news was going on, and the number moved a ton, and then the game comes and Pittsburgh just smokes them 6-2 or whatever it is. So I think these are the kind of spots where you don't want to take on the big favorite, and yeah, like you said, you're getting Saros versus Johansson. So I think this is a decent spot, even though I'm pretty low on the Preds, and there's some chance that Johansson's just decent. And while we're on that too, just a quick fantasy note too, I did look for our listeners who are on that. Johansson's only 38% owned in some leagues, so I think that's worth watching if he's actually going to come out and play decent, because all of a sudden that would be a complete steal if he was to follow up his small sample size last year in this preseason. And then the other one too, I think I saw Juuso Parssinen is plus 550 to score, and could be a fairly high scoring game. He's got a really good spot in the lineup. I think he's a pretty decent player. He can finish, so that's one to watch as well.
And obviously our boy from last year on the Lightning, Michael Esimont. You should get a big number on him. God just loves to shoot the puck, and if it is a Lightning stormer, maybe he gets on the board. So I'll probably have a play on Esimont as well as an anytime goal scorer. It's also the first game of the season, so I'll probably play a first goal scorer as well. And I thought Parssinen was probably going to be my guy, so I'm on the first line on the depth chart. So be sure to check us out in the app, Tim, Nick, and myself in the Action Network app to see who we land on in those markets. And
time's a flat circle, huh? Time's a flat circle, you guys.
Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, it is. I could swear I've done this show before. One last thing on Johansson too that kind of speaks to perhaps he is a little bit better. The Lightning had a chance to claim Martin Jones on waivers and some other veterans that they would be able to fit under the cap, and they passed. So they named Johansson the starter 28 hours in advance. So thank you to John Cooper for doing that. On to Chicago and Pittsburgh. Knicks on the overtime. This game to go to overtime, but the Hawks are plus 190. I think that number will still tick up. We could see it close around 200 or maybe a little higher. Pittsburgh minus 230. The over under 6.5. Tim, do you think that Connor Bedard, anytime goal scorer, will be the chalkiest player prop of the entire season?
100%. 100%. Yeah. The I can close my eyes and see now all the boosts on Bedard, Crosby, them both to score, Bedard alternate, 2+ goals, 3+. That's what you should expect, and that's fun. Props to the NHL for being fun and giving us this opening night, not against any NFL. They did a good thing.
Yeah, I can't believe it, honestly. I actually think I'm going to be on Bedard to score just out of FOMO more than anything, and maybe as a Bedard first goal scorer. But I actually like the Hawks here. I think that the number is going to get a little too high on Pittsburgh. It's going to be a fun juxtaposition where everybody's going to bet Bedard to score, but I think most people are going to back Pittsburgh here on like an alternate line or wrap them in a parlay if they're doing like a 3-leg opening night parlay. But Pittsburgh, to me, and Nick talked about the volatility of opening night. I think that is part of the reason I like Chicago here. But defensively last year, this was not a good team. Like 22nd in expected goals against at 5-on-5, 19th in goals allowed overall. Just not the numbers we're used to seeing from this group, and they should improve a little bit overall. But I don't know if the defense improves all that much. And if it does, it's going to be like marginally. Maybe they go from being below average to average or slightly above average. So I actually think that there's going to be some space on the ice for Chicago, who's not going to be very good, but they've got some decent upside with Bedard and capable bottom six players, which they didn't have last year. Buddy Robinson isn't around anymore. We love you, Buddy, but he's now in the KHL, and I think a back and forth game here should help Chicago a little bit, at least stick around. But it's a big number for a reason, Nick. Anything else here besides your overtime bet?
I'm definitely keeping my eye on Bedard's shot props. It'll obviously just be super interesting to see where it opens, but I'm still kind of anticipating they open it too low. There's a site out there with Bedard 5 at plus 300. I don't hate that. Like I think if 2.5 is about minus 140, I'm definitely playing that. He was putting up well past that in preseason. I know that's against weaker players, but I still feel like it's probably going to come in a little too low. I don't really want to bet the goal. He's a little snake bitten at the end of preseason. He was kind of having a harder time than I thought beating goalies. He didn't really have a lot of clean looks, but I feel more confident that he's going to find a way to get some shots off than to score. So we'll see on that. Like to me, what he showed so far is that he can still find ways to get space and shoot, but he didn't really beat any goalies. So that could be my preferred way to angle that or get in on that. And then I kind of disagree a bit on the Pens. Not that I want to bet them in this spot, but I do think defensively they're a fair bit better. They got Graves. I think he's going to make a big difference, and their bottom six is going to be a lot better. So probably like right about upper middle of the pack for me, but maybe not the time here. But yeah, I can't wait to see what Bedard actually opens at for his standard shot prop line.
Tim?
Yeah,
Anything
I would.
here besides Bedard to score a hat trick and
Yeah, part in 500 parlays.
yeah.
No, I came prepared. I hit up our head of research over at Action Network, Evan Abrams. He told me that overs are 257, 219, and 27 in the first 5 games of the season since 2016. $100 better would be up $2,800 and would be up $2,800, and the ROI there is 5.7%. So early season, national TV game. NHL's doing everything right, and they could make it even better if we get a lot of power plays here and an over. So I'm playing over 6.5. You know, early, like that's the handicap. Early in the season, these teams not fully locked in defensively. Could see a little more wide open hockey. I think Pittsburgh will improve defensively, but does it happen night one? I'm betting against it. So I don't really want to pick a side here. So I'm going to go over 6.5.
What's 3-3 tie? That's what I got to bet on.
Exact score in regulation.
Well, I don't want to bet big money on opening night. You know, I want to bet on 3-3 tie. And
yeah, exactly. You want to. It's a
tie
night to have some fun.
stuff.
I mean, there's 3 games. They're staggered. It's a staggered start. It's such a fun night to bet, and that's the kind of stuff that we should be doing. Like this is if you're going to be putting together like lottery tickets, it's always a fun time to do it. And that's what we're gonna probably do. But we'll close up this episode with Seattle and Vegas, the expansion team derby, as Vegas raises their Stanley Cup banner at the Fortress. The Kraken plus 142, Vegas minus 170, and over under is 6.5. I also think this number ticks up a bit on the Kraken before puck drop, and I will likely be betting them. I think that this is a decent spot to take on Vegas. Seattle's deep. They still can roll 4 lines. They're deep on the blue line. And their goal, like Aiden Hill was great in the playoffs for Vegas, but Seattle's flawed goaltending and Vegas's flawed goaltending is a bit of a wash. So I don't mind taking a third underdog here and really making it a night of pain. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, so on this game, I have a full pick that I like. I think there's a lot of value with Jared McCann is at minus 135 to record over 2.5 shots. He was cruising by that in the season's back half. And so 17 of 22 games, he was over that. I looked since last March. And this isn't just some guy who is doing that. Like, I think we know where he's at in Seattle's lineup. They're still rolling him with Beniers and Eberle, which I love, because that line was so dominant. They controlled play at such a high rate. So for me, I'm very happy to go back to the well on that. I think that chances are a month from now that you're not going to see that number again. I don't love McCann to score 40 again. I think he dips off on that front, but I'm not seeing where he's not just going to come out here firing at the same level he was at the end of last season. And if he's going to do that, then this price is just wrong. So I think that's a good one. The only potential knock is Burakovsky's back on the power play, but McCann's not off power play 1. They're just, it might be a bit of a different wrinkle because sometimes Burakovsky will fire from the top there, but I really don't see how they came up with that number. I think at the end of last year, we saw totals of 3.5 with plus money on the over. I think that is where this settles in a month. So I like that quite a bit. And I agree with you on the Kraken. Same kind of thing. Opening night, there's some volatility there. Who knows what this spot's like for the Knights. Seattle's still a really good team. They're deep. I'm happy to take them on in this spot where I think they'll bring a good game. So nothing too complicated there, but I think definitely 2 picks we like.
And Tim?
Yeah, Nick, I'm going to be telling you on McCann. I love that. I remember you tracking that an awful lot last season. So I'm pumped to see it open at around that 135 mark. And so I'll be jumping aboard. But I'm also on the Seattle train as well. I've had a hangover that's been 3.5 days long. So let's see if Vegas could have a hangover that's like 3.5 months long. It's not that different, right? Not that different. So yeah, Kraken plus money here. Fade the team that's raising the banner opening night. Yeah. Kraken.
All right. So before we get out of here and leave you to your opening night bets, we'll give out quickly our favorite bet for the night. Most times when we talk, we'll have a lot more to choose from than 3 games, but we can't not do it on opening night. For me, I'll go with Nashville. They're my favorite underdog of the night. They're also my favorite bet. I think that going up, getting the Saros versus Jonas Johansson, and look, maybe Johansson does end up trending up, but as it stands right now, I'd be kicking myself to not take Saros versus Johansson on opening night, even on the road. Tim, what about you?
Same thing, Leboff. There's only 3 games to choose from. Preds is my favorite bet, so cue up overtime loss for the Preds.
How about a 56 save shutout by Jonas Johansson? Nick?
Yeah, I'm sticking with McCann for the best bet. I think anything better than -150 is a complete play for me on over 2.5.
Lovely. All right, that's opening night. Our first episode back for the season outside of our season previews. We will be back for Wednesday and Thursday. That'll be our regular cadence for the season. We'll be with you every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning to size up every one of those NHL slates, give out our underdogs, our best bets, etc. For Tim Kalinowski, for Nick Martin, I'm Michael Leboff. We will see you tomorrow.